When you leave a narcissistic relationship, you're left not knowing what you want anymore because the narcissist steals all your resources and leaves you feeling clueless. Many survivors that I have met have asked me, I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know where to go because they have spent 30, 50, sometimes most of their life with the narcissist, and now they have to start from scratch. Today, I'll help you map out your life. I'll help you navigate all the options that you have so that you can create your best life after narcissistic abuse. Hi, I am Danish, a narcissistic abuse recovery professional. In today's episode, I'll help you learn 3 steps to find out what you want to do with your life after surviving narcissistic abuse. If that sounds interesting to you and you're eager to learn more, please make sure to subscribe before we begin. Because as I always said, request, your subscription to the channel helps in spreading awareness about narcissistic abuse. Step number 1, know what you do not want in your life anymore. As a survivor of complex narcissistic abuse, you had to shape your life according to their will, their needs, wants, desires. Everything was nothing but a trauma response. So your life is pretty cluttered. Now you have to start decluttering every single aspect of it by recognizing what is not yours, what is not a presentation of who you are. And for you to know who you are, you have to dive in deep and recognize what your values are. You need to know what you stand for. Why? Because once you know what your values are, what is the most important to you, you will be able to set goals for yourself and design your life accordingly. Once it becomes very clear to you what your primary values are, you will be able to create a better life by finding better people, which includes better friends, romantic partners, create your own family that reflects those values. You will overall have a satisfactory lifestyle. Each and every aspect of your life will be congruent with who you are at your core. So it's essential to know who you are within, and to do that you will know what you stand for. Values that I would like you to think about are empathy, compassion, kindness, authenticity, integrity, honesty, peace, self-discipline, freedom. There are so many out there. Just look at a couple and see what stands out for you and choose the most important 3. Let me share my values with you. My 3 most important values are authenticity, freedom, peace. After growing up around completely inauthentic people, I want authenticity in my life, because inauthenticity creates confusion. Inauthenticity creates a lot of mental and psychological trauma. Inauthenticity harbors resentment, anger, frustration. If there is inauthenticity, you can't trust anybody. So authenticity, being authentic to yourself, being and expressing who you are at your core, is the most important value in my life. Maybe it might be the same for you. Let me know in the comments if you can resonate with that. Second most important value that I hold on to is freedom. I love to be free in all ways, because in a narcissistic family system or with narcissists, you do not have any freedom of expression, freedom of being who you are, freedom of speaking the way you want to speak, thinking the way you want to think, and believing in things the things you want to believe in. So freedom is important. Maybe it is important for you as well. Then comes the peace. Peace encompasses kindness, compassion, empathy for me. If there is peace, there is everything. I cannot stand chaos, trauma, and drama anymore. I would rather live on a mountaintop than in a house filled with amenities and everything. I would rather have nothing but peace than have everything and chaos. Once you gain clarity about your values, look at your present life and assess if it is aligned with who you are and what you believe in terms of the people you keep around, the job you have, everything else, the romantic partner you are with, the way you behave around others. I'm mentioning that because we as trauma survivors have been designed to people please. It's very difficult for us to say no, or we fawn over others, otherwise we face rejection. That is how it has been in the narcissistic family or with the narcissist. So how authentic are you being to yourself? That is going to be your step number one within this step, to know what is not working for you and how to declutter it, how to empty that space by being authentic. Decide if you want to be around those people anymore or not. If they are authentic, they give you the sense of freedom you want to have. I'm talking about myself. If they give you peace, or if they are contributing more to your life, to your values, than taking away. If they are not aligned with where you want to be in your healing journey, then it is a time for you to cut them off. You don't want people who don't put in effort. You don't want to be around people who are dishonest, who wear a mask, or who are not who they pretend to be. They may not be narcissists, but you do not want to be around fake, superficial people if death is one of the things you believe in. Look at your work. Is that aligned with what you think your purpose is, what your calling is? It may seem scary for you to choose a completely different path that you have never taken, or that you were shamed for even thinking about by your parents. For example, what I'm doing today. They sent me to the college to study engineering. That's why I have a bachelor's degree in civil engineering. But that was not my destiny. That was not my calling. I didn't relate to it. I just did it for the sake of doing. This is what I was made for. What are you made for? Think about that. How can you align that with your values? Even if it sounds scary, it feels scary to think about it, it's fine. Sit with that fear, because freedom comes through facing your fears. They dictated how my bachelor's would go, but I decided how my master's would go. That's why I pursued master's in clinical psychology. I didn't get any kind of support, neither did I need any, but I'm just sharing with you. Know what you don't want to do, because that will help you know what you want to do further. Step number 2, set up very specific goals for each aspect of your life. Once you have done the work in step 1, now is the time for you to know what you want to achieve. But here is a word of caution. You cannot just say, I want to have a better job. This is a goal, but it's not specific enough for you to know what the detailed plan is going to be like. I want a job that offers me satisfaction and I earn, you should have a figure, this much amount per month, and I work for these many days. Get into the details. That is where the freedom lies. I want you to do some soul exploration. Get 7 levels deep. When you find out you want to do something and you want to know more why you want it, ask yourself 7 times why you want to do it. For every answer you get, ask one more why until you are 7 levels deep. That will be the biggest answer ever needed. That will bring out the motivation, the source. And because you are a trauma survivor, it's highly likely that you are not motivated by what you will get, but by what you will avoid. That is how motivation works for us. When setting up a specific goal, I request you to also find out what you will be avoiding by achieving such a goal. See, we are trauma survivors. Our nervous systems work differently. We want to avoid the threat. We want to avoid experiencing pain. That's why we cope. That's why we have all these trauma responses. Ask yourself, instead of asking, what will I get? Our reward channels are different. We don't act in that way. We are neurodivergent in that aspect. So, for example, let's take this college example. I have to go to the college, which is far away. I'm afraid of leaving and so on. It doesn't motivate me. Like, get the idea of having a degree, it's not that alluring. But the idea of escaping the abuse and not facing the chaos, drama, and trauma every single day and having some kind of freedom is attractive. What can be a better life than not having the narcissist always hovering around you dictating your life. What can be a better life than having the freedom to decide when you wake up, what you eat, when you sleep, just creating your own rhythm, establishing your personality and identity. Do you see what I'm trying to say here? Yes, you have to ask yourself, what will I be avoiding if I set up goals, let's say for my career, for my friendships, for my romantic relationships? What kind of partner will I never settle for? What qualities should they have? Is it important for me to find a partner who has similar values, like they also believe in authenticity, they are just, they also want peace in their life and in freedom? Of course. So create that profile for yourself. Also remember not to set 1,000 goals at once. The last thing that you want to do is overwhelm your nervous system. You need to know what your window of tolerance is. How much can you tolerate? How much distress or stress can you tolerate without escaping it and stepping into hyperarousal? In other words, becoming anxious, agitated, irritated, infuriated, or stepping into hyperarousal, becoming depressed, rigid, frozen, hopeless. That is not what we want to do. We want to activate the optimal performance, the levels, and for that you will need to know how narrow or wide your window of tolerance is. If it is too narrow, that means you have to take baby steps. That way it will expand. The more it expands, the better you will be able to perform eventually. Step number 3 and the final one. Bring it all together. Now that you know what you do not want to do, and you have a clarity of who you are, what you believe in, and what your goals are, and how you want your ideal life to look like, get to the playground. Get your hands dirty. We have to do the job. But do not push yourself. The last thing you want to do is be critical, judgmental, pushy. That is not what we want to do. Always practice self-compassion, because I made that mistake earlier. It didn't get me anywhere. It's only when I was self-compassionate I was able to achieve a lot. Pick up that pen and paper, or maybe your tablet, and write down the plan. Be very detailed. What you're going to do, how you are going to communicate, how you're going to work on your boundaries, how you're going to start that freelance work, how you're going to quit your job, how much money would you need to save before you call it quits, how you are going to cut off your family, to what state you're going to move, what kind of house you're going to live in, what kind of place you want to be in, how you're going to design your environment. If not all at once, one thing at a time, but write it down. I want you to cast that vision for yourself, no matter how unrealistic it seems to you. Manifesting, visualization, you know all these techniques. You may have heard about manifesting stuff, like as you think about it, it becomes your reality. To a certain degree, it is true, even if we were not to consider the magical aspect of it. It's just the brain, whatever you feed it constantly, and at a subconscious level, you unconsciously, without your awareness, start designing that for yourself if you make it your priority. Now that you have done so much trauma work, it is time for you to grow. We call that post-traumatic growth, and that is what it means to thrive after narcissistic abuse. I want you to know what your potential is, not in a like, oh, you need to do that. No. I want you to gently know what your potential is and how much you can do, and where you can apply a little push and come out of your comfort zone, only to go back if you feel overwhelmed. I want you to redefine your life and ask yourself, who am I without the narcissist? Why? Because the narcissist was a parasite who made him or herself home in your psyche and changed your view of self, world, and them. Everything that you felt, believed in, was because of them. Sometimes narcissists even make you think what you're feeling is not the right thing you should feel, so you go to them and ask for feedback. Is this what I'm supposed to feel? Am I feeling hungry? This is crazy, isn't it? But I have seen it happening. I've been there myself. That is how chronic that self-doubt is. You have to get rid of it, and for that you need to do the trauma work, the healing work. Once it's out, then you have to find your spark and connect with your intuition, which is the guiding force. So all in all, 3 steps are: number 1, know what you do not want in your life, because that will help you to declutter each and every aspect, personally, romantically, in your friendships, in your work, everything. How you want your financial life to look like, how you want to be yourself, because you had to become a virgin that served the narcissist. After that, you have to know what your values are, because they will guide you to set up your ultra specific goals, and then you have to find your source of motivation. How to do that? Know what you will be avoiding by accomplishing a certain thing. Then bring it all together and go into the details of planning. Be very specific with the things that you want and how you will set them up. One thing at a time. Do not overwhelm yourself with anything, and that is the life plan for you. That is it for today's episode. Let me know how you liked it. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate your presence as always. I'll talk to you in the next one. Until then, do not forget to let the healing begin and continue.